Our following speaker is Nagaraj Hebbar. He's the team leader of sales engineering at Meta. He'll be speaking about reducing operational risk with threat intelligence. Please welcome him on stage.
Assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon. Hello. That's my topic for today. So I think in the interest of time, let's just begin with that. First things, what is operational risk? Yeah, a risk that breaks your ability to probably perform or probably give that details to your customers, to your partners, to your probably your internal employees itself. That's the risk that we're talking of. So basically, in short, it is the risk of not being able to perform, not being able to give your services, right? And this is across the board. There is no company that doesn't have an operational risk, okay? And big or small, this is all in there, okay? So only thing is, difference is that probably some of them have a different set of operational risk, while travel consultants or airlines have a different set of operational risk. But the bottom line is, everyone has, or every company has this operational risk. And this falls into two major areas. Yeah? One is internal, and the other one is external. Okay? Internal, you could probably think of something like when you put in a firewall rule. As an admin, he just puts his firewall rule, and by mistake, that is got applied to the DMZ zone, which is typically where your customers log in and log off or access your services, for example. So that's something that is internal risk or internal operational risk. While something that is external would be examples of something like when Twitter actually dropped their blue checkmark recently, I think. And then there were so many imposters popping up and claiming to be the original Twitter handle for that company or for that person, right? So that's a huge risk, isn't it? I mean, of course, Twitter came back and changed that rule and then had some subscriptions for that blue check mark verification. But the point is, imagine the company had to go through when such kind of a thing, external event happens. I mean, social media app dropping a check mark, and then all the other things fall apart, right? I mean, the risk can stem from anywhere. That's the point here. And when it does, there's devastations as well in there. So let's look at this. This was one of the surveys done in the World Economic Forum. Okay, and what they're saying is that threat actors are likely to focus more on business disruptions and reputational damage. So that's the key thing here. And then when you look at today, they just need to get one opportunity. Okay, as defenders, we have all the might to go back and block this opportunity, but then for them, it is just one opportunity to hack you or to attack you, right? And when you look at the statistics here, 1 out of the 5 companies have actually told when they had one of the 5 companies who had an outage in the last 2-3 years, have actually mentioned that they had a negative impact on their business, on their reputation or compliance adherence. And 41% of them who had probably a significant incident were actually having a lost productivity as well. So there are various different things that is associated with this operational risk. And you see here, it is not only about outage, or it is not only about attacks happening here. It is also these simple mistakes that happen internally in your environment that has an effect. Like, for example, your server is down for some reason, and then you have this risk of customers not being able to access the data, customers not being able to transact with the data. What is going to happen? I mean, there are so many instances where the customer is going to go to your competition, for example. So that typically, the bottom line here is, it is not only the risks associated with any of those real breaches, but it is sometimes also related to some of the customer experiences, some of the risks that run within some small things that happen internally in your environment. And this is the same when it happens to the breaches also. We oftentimes don't look at, I mean, we look at the direct costs involved here. Okay, what is the data gone, and what is the amount of data, and what is the cost for the data? That's a direct one. But these that I mentioned as effects, like the competition taking advantage, the negative customer sentiments, these are all the indirect costs that are involved in this operational risk. Now let's just quickly look at what are the main challenges that we're talking of here, and how to overcome. We'll look at it later, but then what are the main challenges? The first main challenge, of course, is about our tech stack itself. Okay, 10, 12 years back, there was so much different technology stacks that we've implemented, the interoperability of things, and online transaction being a big thing back then. Okay, so it was so confusing to do this technology stack itself or implement the technology stack itself. I mean, we just managed to even more complicate that in the last 2-3 years. Why? I mean, there's an additional flavor of the cloud acceptance in the region, isn't it? The cloud being there, private cloud, public cloud, cloud in Saudi, cloud in each of those countries. But that has added to this complication as well. And if you look at that statistics in there, Gartner says 41% of the employees in an organization can actually spin up a server or an asset or an application without even IT knowing about it. And the worst thing is, this is going to grow up to 75% in the next 4 years, according to Gartner. And that's a big hole to plug in as well, right? And second thing, I know this doesn't need any introduction, ransomware across. That's another challenge for the organizations to get over. And that's one of the other pillars of this challenge when it comes to operational risk. Okay, and we'll talk about how we can address that. Then is the point of you have to defend your business, right? So that's typically what you do. But then you have to now also worry about how your partners, how your third parties in your supply chain are actually defending their business, because that is very important for you as well. Why? Because they being breached can actually lead to the threat actors coming to your environment as well, right? Because you are sharing data. You are probably doing a lot of coordinations or collaborations with that company itself. I mean, I always remember this classic case of Target. Target is a supermarket chain in UK, and they were actually breached way back, I think 2017, 2018, because of security lapse in their air conditioning vendor. I mean, can you believe it? I mean, air conditioning, what has it to do with supermarket chain? But that is what happened. That's typically where we have to be worried about how the third parties are interacting, how are their security mechanisms in place. Now, here is, when we did the survey, around 3 out of 5 said that we were breached not because of us, but because of the lapses within our third-party vendors. Last but not the least, is the lack of automation. The SOC, you have a SOC team, you have various different technologies in there, SIM, SOAR, and all that. But at the end of the day, how much of data can you ingest, and how much of it can make value? Today, you have a lot of those SOC analysts. Iteration is very high, and you don't get skilled labor in here. So that's another challenge where 66% of the analysts in the SOC actually think that at least half of their job can be automated rather than doing this on their own and on a personal level. So what is missing? So in this whole events of things, the missing piece is, first of all, the data itself, right? So the detection tools that are installed today look more from what is coming in as traffic to the organization itself, and probably derive the analysis and say, this is good, this is bad. But the thing is, that is just one part of what you need to look at, but you need to look at something else as well, which is currently not there, right? And because you're looking at only the traffic hitting your environment, then the other point is it is becoming too reactive. So if there is something new hitting, then you are scattering out to see how do you stop this and kind of things. And then there is also this piece of you can't automate things, okay? This is very important as well, to be able to feed this data into various different technologies that you have so that it can make sense, and intelligence is not as a silo, it is gone across all these devices so that you can do a comprehensive approach to that attack itself. Of course, because of not having additional context, there's also lack of actionability. So you don't have points and place to say what to do next. You probably have to still do manually and check and see, okay, what needs to do next, rather than having to get these actionables, IOCs, immediately and quickly act on it, right? So you can probably block it. But then today, what's happening is that piece is missing because they just give you a report or you just have a list of things, but then you have to go back and search and see whether that is really bad, why it is bad, kind of. So that's typically why we use and help here as threat intelligence, okay? So let's look at each of those use cases that I talked about or the challenges that I talked about. The first one is you're expanding digital asset or attack surface. This is what will be available for an attacker from the outside when he actually does a recon, right? So reconnaissance, he just looks at what all different things is available for me to attack. So this is what he's going to do, right? So he's going to scan your networks from the outside. He's going to look at in the dark web to see if he has got any credentials for your environment. So these are all the different things that a threat intelligence from external side of things will be allowing you to do, right? So it can help you with all these dark web mentions of your companies. It can help you with credentials that leaked in the dark web and is buying and selling is happening. So these are all the informations that will proactively help to mitigate this risk itself with threat intelligence. And also look at your attack surfaces. Look at your vulnerable applications from the outside, your applications that have been misconfigured. There are admin panels open out there. There are VPNs access out there. So these are all the things that threat intelligence helps you in, external threat intelligence help you in. So if you move on to the next one, which again, as I said, this is evident everywhere. I mean, everybody knows about this. But the point is, you have already tools today for looking at signatures, looking at stuff that on ransomwares, right? But what we are saying here is threat intelligence also complements whatever solutions you have. We are not saying you will replace, but we're just going to complement your endpoint solutions, your SOAR platforms, your firewalls, with additional data, not only coming in from your environment, but also across, giving you new IOCs, dynamic IOCs for these different ransomwares, and information about ransomware groups, how they operate, what are the different things that they do, what are the different things they're lately doing. So all these insights help your organizations with threat intelligence, external threat intelligence to be more proactive in your approach. The last one in there is, the last but one in there is on the third party, right? Now, whatever I told about challenges and how to overcome that with threat intelligence in the first challenge, which is more focused on your environment, your brands, your domains, this is just looking at that same concept, but for all your third parties. So looking at credential leaks for your third parties in the dark web, looking at making sure that there are no gaps in their external side of things, looking at IPs, are they mentioned in some CNC servers? Is there any access of the third parties that is being mentioned? Because then you can inform this information back to your company or to that third party so that they can take quick actions. Again, this is something that is not directly under your control, but that still affects your organization as well. So that's where we give you that kind of insights of how you can use these data and plug it in or proactively use this to, even if the third party doesn't take action, you can take action on your behalf and block their access to your environment so that you are covered at least. Last one on the automation. Again, the more we talk, the more we have here, because every different technology that is out there has a different use case that they are doing, right? So threat intelligence can provide you that context. Threat intelligence examples, I would say, when it goes to SIM solution, right? So what if I tell you an example of an IP is bad? That's a good information, isn't it? And that can be used in your SIM, that can be used in your SOAR, that can be used in your firewall, fine. But what if I tell you that it is much more contextual there, meaning I tell you that this IP is bad because of a command and control access it has got of a specific malware, and this is the hash. Now imagine that kind of information when I feed it back to a SIM, it can do a lot more additional work automatically, removing your alert fatigue, removing your analyst burnout, because he has to search all this. This is all done because you already have that insights coming in from your threat intelligence. Or if I give that same information to your SOAR platform, right? What can a SOAR do? SOAR probably can take this to a next level and say, probably initially initiate a connection to your firewall to write a dynamic rule to block that IP. Then go back or trigger an alert to your security team to go back and search from when to when this IP has been connecting, what is the system, scan that system, remove that system off. So you can do so many different things when we give you that additional context from the external threat intelligence side of things. So overall, threat intelligence, external threat intelligence helps you a lot when it comes to doing all these different, or overcoming all these different challenges that is there. Now, last but not the least, I would conclude this talk by saying threat intelligence helps to look beyond your internal telemetry and enhance your security controls and defenses with external threat data that threat intelligence provides, that is much more contextualized, that is much more analyzed as well. Again, all done by machines here. And then also being prioritization capabilities within that data that is shared, and layered along with implications and also the probability of that being there, right? And all this in a much more actionable format, okay? So that's where the key part is, that you can immediately take actions based on this. You have all that additional data that can help you there. And overall, thus, threat intelligence gives an advantage for companies to identify, to stay ahead of risks that matter the most, and also help companies to build resilience at the speed and scale of the threat environment, ever-changing threat environment itself. With that, thanks a lot for your time, and we are here outside in our booth. We are happy to help you more or have a demo done for you on the real-time intelligence that we have. Thanks a lot.